There is a machine in your kitchen that is humming right now. You barely hear it anymore. It is a constant white noise that signals safety. You trust it implicitly. You fill it with colorful packages, fresh produce, and meats wrapped in plastic. You believe that inside this cold, lit box, your food is safe. But imagine for a moment that the humming stops. The storm hits. The grid fails. Or the machine simply dies. From that moment, you have 4 hours before bacteria begin to wake up. 12 hours before your kitchen becomes unsafe. And within a single day, that sanctuary of freshness turns into a biological hazard. The meat turns gray and slimy. The milk sours. The vegetables wilt into a wet mush. Your entire survival strategy is tethered to a copper wire and a flow of electricity. This fragility feels normal to us now because it has a name. It is called the cold chain, an invisible system of refrigerators, trucks, warehouses, and freezers designed to keep your food alive only as long as nothing ever goes wrong. We accept this fragility as the price of eating well. We believe that food is naturally volatile, that it wants to rot, and that we are constantly fighting a losing battle against time. But that is a lie. Decay is not inevitable. It is engineered. For the vast majority of human history, food did not die in a day. It lived for years. It sat in warm pantries, hung from rafters in open air, and traveled across oceans without a single volt of electricity keeping it alive. We look back at the medieval era and imagine a time of desperate hunger and rotten scraps. We picture peasants gnawing on spoiled meat because they had no choice. The reality is far more unsettling. They didn't need refrigerators because they understood something we have completely forgotten. They knew how to turn food into a fortress. We, on the other hand, have turned our food into a ticking time bomb. To understand why your food is so fragile, you have to look at what you are actually buying. When you pick up a package of bacon from the supermarket, it looks red and appetizing. But if you were to place it on a counter next to a piece of cured pork from 500 years ago, the difference would be invisible to the eye, but obvious to a microscope. The modern slice is chemically designed to fail. It is packed with moisture. If you read the label, you will likely see water listed as a primary ingredient, often injected into the meat along with phosphates to make it swell. We pay for this water by the pound. It makes the meat heavy, soft, and profitable. But in the world of biology, water is not life. Uncontrolled water is the enemy. Scientists call this water activity. It is a measure of how much liquid is available for bacteria to drink. Pathogens like Salmonella and Listeria need a water activity level of roughly 0.95 to survive. Your supermarket meat, pumped full of saline solution to keep it looking plump, sits comfortably in that kill zone. It is a swimming pool for microbes. The only thing stopping them from consuming that meat before you do is the artificial winter inside your refrigerator. The medieval butcher didn't have a refrigerator, so he had to wage a different kind of war. He didn't hide the meat from the heat. He changed the physics of the meat itself. It started with salt, but not the way we sprinkle it for flavor. This was salt as a weapon. When a medieval farmer processed a pig, he packed it in coarse salt for weeks. This wasn't a seasoning process. It was a dehydration event. Through osmosis, the salt aggressively pulled the water out of the cells, dragging the moisture that bacteria need to survive right out of the flesh. By the time the salting was done, the water activity had dropped so low that most bacteria simply starved to death. They could land on the meat, but they couldn't eat. The meat had become a biological desert. But they didn't stop there. If you walk into a modern grocery store, you will see smoked meats. But usually, this is a lie of flavor. It is liquid smoke sprayed on for taste, or a rapid, hot smoke that cooks the meat in a few hours. It tastes like smoke, but it doesn't act like smoke. The medieval smokehouse was a place of slow, cold chemistry. They burned wood like beech or oak, but they kept the fire distant, sometimes piping the smoke through underground tunnels so it would cool down before it ever touched the food. This cold smoke, drifting over the meat for weeks, didn't cook it. It coated it. Wood smoke contains hundreds of compounds, including phenols and organic acids. When these compounds land on the meat, they don't just sit there. The acids lower the surface pH, creating an acidic barrier that bacteria cannot cross. The phenols act as antioxidants, preventing the fat from going rancid even when exposed to air for months. They form a tough skin, a pell, that acts like a natural shrink wrap. This wasn't primitive cooking. It was complex chemical engineering. They created a hurdle effect, removed the water, acidify the surface, and coat it in antimicrobial armor. The result was a ham that could hang in a cellar for 2 years, getting more flavorful with time, while your modern bacon rots in a plastic bag within a week. We traded this resilience for convenience. We built a world where we don't have to wait 2 months for a ham to cure. We can inject it with brine and sell it tomorrow. But in doing so, we handed over control of our food supply to the cold chain. The cold chain is the invisible network of refrigerated trucks, warehouses, and display cases that keeps our food system from collapsing. It is a miracle of logistics, but it has made us lazy. Because we can keep things cold, we stopped worrying about making them stable. We stopped fermenting, we stopped curing, and we stopped drying. We started trusting the temperature dial. This shift didn't just change how we store food. It changed what we eat. And this might be the most dangerous part of the transition. Think about how insane this is. We live in heated homes with glowing screens and endless convenience. Yet the moment a small box stops humming, we are one day away from hunger. Consider the bread on your counter. It is soft, white, and likely stays soft for a suspiciously long time. In the 19th century, we invented the roller mill. This machine was efficient. It could pulverize grain into a fine white dust, stripping away the bran and the germ. The bran was where the fiber lived. The germ was where the nutrients and oils lived. By removing them, we created a flour that was incredibly shelf-stable because it was nutritionally empty. Even the bugs didn't want to eat it. We had to invent laws to enrich the flour with vitamins just to stop people from getting deficiency diseases like pellagra and beriberi. Medieval bread was different. It was stone ground. It contained the whole architecture of the grain. It was dense and heavy. Modern bread is designed to disappear in your mouth. Medieval bread was designed to stay in your body. One feeds hunger. The other ends it. Today, our food has no breaks. We eat ultra-processed, roller-milled starches and sugars that dissolve instantly in our stomachs, spiking our insulin and leaving us hungry an hour later. We have constructed a diet that is high in calories, but low in the signals that tell us to stop eating. We look at medieval peasants and assume they were starving. But skeletal analysis shows they often had strong bones and healthy teeth, because they weren't eroding their bodies with constant sugar and refined flour. Even their junk food was safer than our health food. A medieval street pie, the fast food of the 1300s, was made of meat, animal fat, and whole grain crust. It was heavy, yes, but it was real fuel. It was energy for a body that worked. Modern fast food is chemically engineered palatability. It uses vegetable oils that oxidize and inflame our cells, and sugars that bypass our satiety signals entirely. We have created a paradox. We have more food than any civilization in history, yet we are chemically malnourished. We have refrigerators that can keep food cold indefinitely, yet our food spoils faster than ever before. Why do we accept this? Why do we prefer the injected, watery bacon and the hollow white bread? It comes down to a psychological shift. We have learned to trust machines more than we trust processes. We see a sealed plastic package as clean. We see a ham hanging in a cellar, covered in mold and soot, as dirty. But that mold is often part of the preservation. That soot is the antioxidant barrier. We have sanitized our world to the point of fragility. We have become terrified of bacteria, wiping our counters with bleach, not realizing that the medieval method wasn't about eliminating nature, but about guiding it. They used good bacteria to fight bad bacteria. They used fermentation to outcompete pathogens. We simply try to kill everything. And when you try to kill everything, you leave the field open for the strongest, nastiest invaders to take over the moment your defenses drop. This is not a call to smash your refrigerator. It is not a suggestion that we should all go back to living in huts and salting our own pork in the bathtub. But it is a necessary realization. We need to understand what we have traded away. We have optimized our food system for speed and profit. We strip the time out of the process. Good ham takes a year. Good bread takes days of fermentation. We want it in hours. So we use chemicals, water, and electricity to fake the results of time. But time was the safety factor. Time was the flavor. There are now two ways to live. One, where your survival hums quietly in the background, praying nothing ever breaks. And another, where your food is finished, stable, and truly yours, whether the lights are on or not. The refrigerator sounds like safety, but it is only borrowing time. Medieval food owned time. It didn't hum. It waited. If this way of thinking makes you uncomfortable, good. This channel is for people who want food that belongs to them, not to a machine. If you're one of them, subscribe.